Hello, everyone. We have a special guest today. His name is NFT Nate. Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up,
Hey,
NFT Nate? How you doing?
good. Thanks for having me. It's a little bit early here at 6 o'clock in the morning. So
Oh,
usually this is
wow.
bedtime, but now it's like wake up. So I had to get to bed at a reasonable hour last night, which was different for a change.
So it would have been
Wait, so
really
you
hard
said
for you
it's
to
six
join us on the
o'clock?
space.
Yeah, 6 a.m. Yeah.
Ooh, man, was that Australia or?
Yeah, so
Oh,
Australia, Sydney.
okay, on the other side of the world. How are you doing?
Well, it's good. So it's Thursday morning at the moment. You guys would have what, Thursday? No, Wednesday day. Yeah, so we're in the future basically. So it's pretty good. So that's why we can always front run the markets.
Yes. The best time to make moves is when USA is sleeping. So 3 a.m. for my time is usually when the gas is the cheapest and when the DJs really come out and play. That's
Mm.
how the NFT space is. So you have that advantage there, but then when you're trying to do stuff like this, it might be 6 a.m. for you. It might be a little harder in that aspect, right?
Yeah, well, it's like what ends up kind of happening is around the 7, 8, 9 p.m. mark, which is like a good time here. That's when gas is quite low. But when
Mm.
you start to see the cycles, you kind of know that if something pumps and it runs up, you kind of have a good bet that when the US wakes up, people are going to see that they've got some sort of their bags are pumped. They're going to be ripping out sort of profits. So you can kind of start to kind of guess it, and you see a pump happening overnight, and all the new guys will be like, "Oh, US is going to wake up and it's going to run," and I'm like, bro, if the US wakes up and they've seen a sort of 5x on something, they're going to rip it out. So you can like make sure that you get in. But then the bad part is that there's no volume in the market because everyone's asleep. So it's like, it's a
Mhm.
little bit, it's good and it's bad because you could kind of have to like think about it and how you want to execute around it. But after you've seen it, it's fine. But I think the hardest one for me is like Europe because they're almost the exact flip. So 9 a.m. would be 9 p.m. So you've literally got a window at the sort of
Mm.
the start and the end of the day to actually kind of hit up those guys, which is a little bit hard sometimes.
So when do you execute your trades? Like because for me, a lot of new mints and a lot of degen plays, a lot of crappy derivatives that some most times into your hidden wallet. Uh, a lot of them does mint at about 3 a.m. U.S. time, Eastern time. So I'm guessing, like my knowledge is that we mince it at when the U.S. sleeps. Then when U.S. wakes up, that's when we start pumping it to the U.S. People start buying into the things, and then that's usually when a lot of DJs exit, like right after U.S. wakes up, and they start buying into what was pushed the previous night before. So what would be your best times for what would be your strategy for mincing anything?
Well, so it's like I guess it's a not a two I guess a two-part question. It depends if I'm like whitelist. If I'm whitelisted or not, I'm usually kind of minting towards the end of the whitelist period just to see how healthy it is and how things are going. It's very rare that I'll kind of mint sort of the first second and just kind of like grab it. But if it's not, it's hard because I don't usually mint anything that's kind of big on a public sale because I don't want to sort of lose money to gas. But then, and like, look, it's a shameless plug for Ninjalerts, but the fact is, like, because I'm getting like the push notifications to the phone, if I see a whole bunch of people that I know start minting something, then it's like, okay, now I'm just going to jump on anyway. There's no particular time that I'll jump in and mint anything. It's like when it's happening, it's happening. I've kind of just gotten used to the fact that it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's just happening and rolling. So the idea that you just jump in when the action's on, it's on. And like sometimes I could literally be like on the train heading into the city to kind of do something. I've always got my backpack and laptop. And like yesterday, something happened, and I'm like, okay, cool. I saw a whole bunch of alerts. I'm like, okay, just literally laptop open, quickly get a mint done on the train on the way in to kind of go get some errands done in the city. So it's like that's one of those things where there isn't time and a place for me. It's just like when it's happening, and just go for it.
No shameless plugs
Okay.
here, man. This show is obviously brought to you by Ninjalerts, and that's where you're joining us. So I appreciate it. This is was for a future question, but being you already brought it up, is there any like specific people that you like to follow on Ninja Alerts that you kind of look for their notifications?
No, so the way that I've done this before where I actually think Ash Robin did a one of his Twitter videos about it, where it's like people that sort of copy trade Gary Vee and how they always get burnt. And the fact is, when you get something like a notification, you think about all these people that you're going, oh, these people always make good trades. I'm going to follow them and do it. Then you copy their trades, and then what happens is you end up losing because you realize that they're minting 10 projects and they're expecting two to absolutely blow up and moon, and the rest of them they're expecting to kind of like do average. They've got enough sort of liquidity enough to run it up to just like play those averages. So with me, I actually don't follow any sort of one person. I actually follow a lot of people. So like when you kind of go through the list of how many people are there, I kind of just go through some that I've seen the names of before, but I only ever do it if I get an indication of sort of three or four people are moving into a project. If three or four people are moving into it, okay, cool, then it looks like it's good. Because if you go off just one data point, it's not going to work. But if sort of three or four people are looking like they're moving into it, then it looks like it might be a solid play. So it's hard because I can't give you a list of the people that I follow because I don't take notice of the individuals. I've kind of set it up in a way that as long as I see the same project by different people constantly being sort of minted or bought, then I move into it that way.
No, that's a very good answer. We've interviewed, you're our third interview on here. Again, thank you for being here. And so
Thank
far
you.
we had po.eth. He gave a completely different answer, and then we had Sasha, NFT Sasha, a couple days ago, and he gave a completely different answer. So it's pretty cool that you gave another perspective on how you use Ninjalerts.
So before we get into we're later on in the show, we're gonna actually go through Ninja Alerts and see what's trending, see your take on it, and what's a good indicator for you to buy. But before we get to that, we just want to take a step back and learn a little bit, like when you hit you with some generic questions, like when did you get into NFTs, and how did you decide to start your YouTube channel? Because I saw it, you have quite a lot of subs, and you've been doing this for a little while now. So just expand a little bit about that.
So I started, so with my journey into NFTs was actually through the app Vivi. So that actually happened in like March last year. A friend actually introduced that to me. He's like, hey, Gary V's all up on NFTs. And there's this app that you can kind of like do NFTs, like buy NFTs in. And I kind of dabbled in that. And then I kind of started to see, I kind of like fell off that for a little bit. Then I started to see on Reddit and just posts around the internet like, oh, this rock sold for $1 million. I'm like, hey, what the hell is this? And then it's like, oh, actually, like NFTs again. Then I've gone, okay, maybe I should take this proper serious. And then when I took it proper serious and like actually had a look at it, I got the same feelings and vibes that you get with Bitcoin 2013, 2014. Everyone was calling it a scam. Everyone was calling it sort of just for just bad people, like money laundering, just all that kind of stuff. And I realized that
Yes, yes.
NFTs right now feel like crypto back in 2013, 2014. And at that point, I'm like, oh, if this plays out how it has played out, it eventually will become norm. And then everyone will be like, oh, I should have been in NFTs back then. It's a little bit different. It's not like you kind of just buy one singular NFT and then hold that for 5 years and you're going to be good. But being in the ecosystem, you understand what you can kind of look at. Like, look, sure, you're going to make sort of small little flips and gains and stuff. But the idea is being in the ecosystem, when you see something different that hits, you're going to actually be able to execute it and you're not going to sit on the sidelines. So then there was that. But then I also know how I like to learn. And I also know that I've also got a background in sort of content and media. So I actually had a friend that had a YouTube channel. It's like, hey, why don't you do a YouTube channel on NFT? You kind of know a little bit about it. Do that. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll just do that. Because my thought process is that if I'm learning in front of people, you're going to accelerate your sort of knowledge base, because any mistakes that you make, you're sort of recording that and putting that out there. So you're not going to make those mistakes again. And you need to be more calculated with what you're saying, what you're doing, how you're doing it, because it's not like you can kind of have a loss and then tuck that away. You're recording a video, you're putting it on the internet, it's there forever. So I thought if I do that, then that'll kind of help other people, because sure, you'll have some big OG guy or someone that may have all the knowledge, but someone will gravitate towards someone that they just like the vibe of, like the sound of, and then is at the same kind of level that they're at. So that's why I started to do that. And then obviously, like, the channel can kind of navigate through there. So like with big projects, you kind of learn to game the algorithm. And it's like I feel like an idiot always like doing the face thumbnails, but it's like those are the things you just have to do, because that's just what the
Yeah.
algorithm kind of supports. So that's how that came about. And yeah, it was just a matter of like knowing that if I put myself out there and learn in front of people, like with an audience, you're going to learn a lot faster and you're going to do a lot better because you're going to be held accountable. No, and then also the fact that I also thought that if everything does go stupidly bearish, everything goes to zero, there's still going to be some sort of media coverage. So it's a way to almost hedge your bet with NFTs with the market. If the market goes up, you can ride that wave. If the market goes down, people that are really into it are still going to need the people covering those aspects of it. So it was kind of like a little bit of a play like that.
So I noticed you did mention your all your plays will be documented. What has been your biggest L so far?
Well,
Do you remember?
it's
Like,
sort of. I'll touch on that beforehand. It's not necessarily that the plays are documented, but it's more like the if I think a project is good and I go, hey, cool, here's a project that I like for these reasons, then it turns out to be wrong. I'm not going to delete that. I'm going to keep that there. And then what's funny, someone would be like, hey, are you into this project because you said you liked the previous project that had a similar thing? I'm like, no, I don't like it anymore. And I'm not never going to take a video down because I don't want to take a video down because then it looks like I'm covering up those L's. In terms of L's that I've had, a lot of them have been via sort of degen plays that I've kind of seen because of like not saying like Ninjalerts is bad in that sense, but it's like you see some plays, you kind of move into it, everyone's moving towards it, and then you're good. But the thing is, I don't really think of an L as a bad L because it's like all you're really going to lose is your sort of mint price. Like the only like I guess like the biggest thing that's actually dropped value is my crypto dad. I got in about 1 ETH. It was sitting there
oh
for
yeah.
a month. It was sitting there for like ages at around this 1 ETH mark, and then it kind of dropped down to sort of 0.25. So that is like the biggest loss because when it comes down to the mints, like back when mints were actually appropriate, all you were losing is like 0.05 or 0.08, and you're not really going to lose too much, if that kind of makes sense.
Yes. Yeah, I'm also talking about like, have you ever gotten FOMOed into a project at the top and then it just collapsed after that, or do you usually only go through new mints and allow lists and things like that?
So I with sort of I'm quite good at not FOMOing into anything because I'm aware of how I think and how I act. It's not to say that I'm kind of in control of everything all the time, but the idea is like if I know that like there are a lot of emotions running and I know it's running up, I know that there's going to be another mint, there's going to be another thing later on down the line. You don't need to get into that particular project because if it is running up, sure, it could continue to run up and you could miss out on some gains. But it's like the fact is there's always going to be another one later on. And I've come to terms with the fact that that's just how the game is. And it's like, I'm not going to like, I guess an example of this is that a lot of people are like, hey, are you jumping in on X project? X project is going to be really good. It's really good. It's running up. And I'm like, hey, look, I've looked at it. I didn't get in. Why are you going to buy it off secondary? No, I'm not going to buy. Okay, why not? I think it's already had its run. It could run up another 20x. That's fine. But I'm not going to like play around with it. And I'm comfortable with that because I think if you realize that there is an abundance, then you're going to put yourself in a better mindset. Otherwise, you're always going to be kind of chasing what's currently hot or what's happening, and you're just going to like burn yourself out.
Yeah, that's super
Yeah.
fair. That's a good answer. It obviously you have a pretty good following on YouTube and on Twitter, and you're pretty involved with the space. Do you do NFTs and YouTube content part time or full time or?
So it's kind of like it's a hard question because I do it full time, but I've also got other things that I do outside of YouTube and the NFT space because of the way the traditional system's set up. The fact is, you can't achieve anything, any financial goals that you want to achieve if you don't have something that looks good because you can't go to a bank and say, hey, I've got NFTs in YouTube because they're just not going to accept it. They're not going to understand it. And it comes back. I've got a friend who's got a big successful YouTube channel. He can't even get a credit card for $1,000, but he's doing sort of tens of thousands of dollars consistently a month coming through, but they don't recognize that earnings and that income. So it's kind of a little bit. So yes, I kind of do it full time, but I need to kind of do some other media stuff to kind of show that I actually can pay things so I can operate in the traditional system.
That's yeah. So I have never even thought of that, but that makes sense. Kind of developing a more of a paper trail for your government to say like, hey, you can get this credit card or buy a house or whatever, even if you're killing it in the space, whether that be content creation or NFT flipping. I guess traditionally it's still just not going to look well to you going up to try to get a loan or whatever and trying to buy something. So
And
that's very good input.
the other kind of flow-on effect is that you'll then have the people going, yeah, but set up the LLC. Yes, do this. And it's like, if you've actually gone through it with a bank before, if you've got an LLC, they're going to want a year or two worth of statements. So the idea is it's like you'd need to have been doing this like at the level that you want to be kind of borrowing at for the last sort of 2 years to consistently show that that's what you're doing. And it's like, it just doesn't work like that. And the idea is if you do want to then pick up a home for 1.5, considering taxes, you then need to have 3 to then pay the tax to then kind of do it. And it's like, I think that's where it gets a little bit funny, because if you've played in that system before, you understand it and you're going, okay, cool. That's just how you have to play. But yeah, it's kind of funny because it's like, yeah, you're playing in this old world, hating the way that they're doing it, knowing that you're good, but the person that you're talking to on the phone is literally just like sort of plugging numbers into like a database and going, oh, okay, cool. No, this doesn't look like you actually earn what you say you earn. Sorry, we can't do it. And it's just like, okay, there's nothing you
Yeah.
can do.
That's super fair.
Yes.
I have an LLC for a business that I've had for 6 years. I also do content creation, and I've never really considered getting one for that. But it makes me think, like, if you were to go to like an NFT meetup, or like, would you be able to write that off? And if so, that'd be really cool. I know Gutter would love that because he goes to the gutter
Yeah, I
meetups and
go. I go
parties
to a
up.
lot of
So imagine being able to put
meetups.
that on your write off for your channel. I don't know if it works
I
like that.
will soon. I will soon. So I do, Nate. I do want to ask you, what are the laws around NFTs in Australia? I know different countries have different laws when it comes to crypto. What are Australian laws for that? Is it like recognized? Do they respect NFTs yet, or because in America it's still a little bit gray, a gray area over here? So what is it
I
like over
think,
there?
look, I'm not a lawyer. I kind of don't understand this enough to be able to kind of give you a good answer, but I think it's a similar thing to the US, which is it's a gray area and it's treated as sort of a cryptocurrency. The idea that if you buy um, uh, an NFT, it's classed as that token. You're essentially buying one of that kind of essentially that coin, and then if you were to sell it, then that's like where the difference is based in that in terms of fiat value. So that's how I think it is, but I'm not well versed enough for it, and that's why that's why I've got people that can kind of sort that out. You kind of make sure you've got accountants and things, because I would hate to be sort of a young kid trying to do this myself. That'd be way too hard.
Yeah, this tax season is coming up in the U.S. and a lot of us are we are kind of scared when the T word we call it around here. So that's something else we got to navigate now, especially since a lot of us are new to the space and we just started getting. So a lot of us are making more money than we have before NFTs. So it's a new landmine to go through this tax season. But that's always something I gotta ask because it's I'm guessing it would be different in Australia than it is here because IRS here, even if you stole something, they want you to report it on your taxes. Like literally, if you if you stole anything, they want you to report what you've stolen on your taxes so you could pay taxes on those stolen goods, which is the strangest thing, but it's a fact. So that's why I just wanted to ask about that. But if we could move on, what's the in NFTs, what's the latest thing you've bought recently? Like, did you get anything hyped, or are you? Because we're in a bear market right now. What is your
Mm.
play?
So the most recent kind of purchases that I've made that I'm actually kind of happy with, Antonym, because I like the team and what they kind of want to do. It just sucks that they kind of launched like super bear market essentially, because it's like where that's sitting currently, it feels like it should be higher and it's a little bit crazy. And then Rubber Duck Bath Party, the way that they've got their utility of the trait kind of swapping and changing, I think that's fun and it's a way to kind of re-engage people. And it also starts to remove the rarity aspect of the way that kind of NFTs are played, and then also the future collaboration opportunities that they can have. So those are two projects that I recently got in. It was like the 1st of March they minted. So I'm kind of like pumped on those. I'm kind of pumped for the Antonym reveal, and then also Rubber Duck Bath Party when they have their kind of bath party essentially, and you like mix up the traits and do that. So those are two that I'm kind of excited on right now.
Yeah, I like Bath Party. I kind of missed the raffle to get on the allow list for that one because again I'm part of Gutter Cat Gang and they had a collaboration with the Gutter Cat Gang. So I was kind of mad I missed that entry. I was gonna get in after it went public, but then I also missed that again because of the bear market, and I got a little shook because I've been losing lately during the bear market. I'm like, from my last trades on the show, like me and Chris talked about, I'm kind of down like, about 70% from the recent trades from last week. So it's kind of made me hesitant to jump into anything, especially after post reveal when it just drops. But I have seen the images of Duck Party. I must say they look like the placeholder. I'm not gonna lie, they don't look that out of it didn't look as I would expect them to look, but of course they haven't implemented the bath party itself. And it also reminds me of the Ozzy Osbourne bats. Are you familiar with the Ozzy bats?
Yes,
That
I'm
which
familiar with it.
Yeah, did you ever get into that, or did you skip that one? The Ozzy
I
bats.
wanted to I wanted to get into it, but coming back to like because I wasn't sort of whitelisted, it then means that I kind of just sat it out because I know it had enough hype and it was running like big enough that I'm like, you know what, if I do get in onto the secondary, there's going to be like the gains aren't going to be there, and that circles back to just knowing that there's an abundance and there's going to be something else. I don't want to move into something on the secondary unless I see it as a crazy long-term play. That's kind of how I see it.
So did
Mm.
you mint your rubber duck bath parties?
Yes, so I minted Rubber Duck Bath Party and also the Antonym. So with Rubber Duck Bath Party, I actually Matt's crypto. I was actually doing an interview with him, and he actually brought that up just right at the end. I'm like, oh, cool, I might check that out. Checked it out, and it was quite small. Kind of reached out, spoke to them, and then it just started to gain a little bit more traction. Then once you kind of understood what they wanted to do and how they wanted to play it, I'm like, okay, cool. I can see this having more potential longer term just because of how they wanted to structure and operate it. And it's like it was little things with the communications, like when you go, hey, let's set up a meeting. It wasn't like okay, sort of handshake deal in Discord. It was like, hey, here's my email address. Make sure you send sort of a calendar invite, so it kind of blocks it out in the calendar. I'm like, okay, that's someone that's done business before because that's how they operate. Then another thing was like when I was submitting some information, they were kind of like everything goes off one central sort of database and spreadsheet because they didn't want Discord to be the only thing that held all their information when it come down to sort of like white, sort of like just like names and things like that, and just the way that they kind of operated and moved about. I'm like, oh, okay, they've actually done stuff before, and it's that point where those little things that might not seem different, but if you've done kind of business with sort of people that are business with people before, you know how they move and how they operate. And when someone moves and operates like that, you're going, okay, cool. They're a little bit more together in how organized they are. And it looks like they are going to execute what they say they're going to execute. It's not just sort of like a random cat picture, like sort of called like Tommy 35, and he's just going like, hey, let's chat on Tuesday. You've actually got someone's email address that's like a proper email address. Like it's all legit. So that's when I started to get those vibes. I'm like, okay, cool. I can see this working longer term because it feels like the team's actually put together well.
Yeah, I love
So
it, and it's 60% ownership too. That's pretty impressive. Out of 10K items, there's 5.8K owners, so almost
it's
60%
pretty good.
ownership.
So I think you kind of alluded a little bit about what I'm about to ask you now is that what do you look into before you get into a project? You just mentioned team. That's one big reason you got into Rubber Duck Party. So what are the different criteria, like your top three criteria before you feel comfortable enough to buy something or mint something?
I think
If you're
the
on the
art
list, of course.
Yeah, I think the art, for one, and a lot of people go like, "Oh, I prefer utility first. Oh, I prefer team first." The reason I say art first is that if a project doesn't, like, if it goes to zero, but you like looking at it, then at least you kind of, it just takes the sting out a
Mhm.
little bit. Like if some projects do go to zero, but you've got it, you're like, okay, cool. You know what? That's fine, because if something goes to zero and you hate looking at it when it's at 3 ETH, you're gonna really hate looking at it when it's at zero. So I'm like, that has to be like sort of the first thing that gets me across the line, because I also think that we're emotional beings, and when people see something that they like, there's an emotional attachment. It's like you can love utility as much as you want, but there's a reason that sort of like pictures of like NFT pictures are just kind of have more of kind of like not necessarily a fan base, but they just like draw more emotion than just like a random token. Then I think the team is important, because first off, you want to avoid a rug, but secondly,
Mhm.
if it makes sense for what they're doing and you just vibe with the team, and sometimes it goes off vibes, because I'm in a position where I'm able to kind of get the time to speak to the founders. And if you just get good vibes from it and you like to talk to them and you come out of like a conversation feeling like you're their friend, then it feels like you're a little bit more safer in kind of moving into that project. And then third, when it comes down to, I wouldn't like, look, I'd, everyone kind of says utility, but I also think it comes down to like a supply and price ratio, because even if I love the team and love the art, but it's a 10K collection at 0.25, it's like, man, that's hard to stomach. But it's
Yeah.
I feel like that plays into it, because that's like the mathematics in what the supply demand ratio is going to be and how things are going to perform afterwards. Because if things have got a low supply or a decent mint, it's like, okay, cool. Even if the art is not as top notch as it could be, or the art or the team isn't as good, at least that kind of gives me an indication that it might actually be a good money play. Because the thing about I do like utility and stuff, and I know this is funny coming from like Ninjalerts, which is like just all utility, is the fact that I do think utility is something that can easily get wiped out if people aren't kind of improving on it. Because the reason that Apple became Apple is because they kept improving. You can't just make one thing and just hope it'll last forever. And then it also comes down to like building up that utility. So I guess those are the three things that I kind of look for when I'm looking at it. Because I'm telling you, I'll be on Twitter and I'll see something and I'm like, hey, that looks cool. Team look good. What's the supply and price? Supply and price not good? No, dipping out. Don't care how good it is, how crazy it'll be. I'd rather just not take that risk.
Really? So how long on average do you usually hold on to a project? Are you a long time holder or do you trade quite often?
So
Like
I
on
will
average.
trade quite often. So I will sell pre-reveal for most things. But then those projects that I do like longer term hands, like Rubber Duck, Bath Party, Antonym, I will hold sort of very, very long term, because I can see the play that they're doing and where those things are moving. Where I'll hold something kind of like a short to mid term is when I think the meta will come back around to it. So right now, it's like if I mint something that I think the meta will then hit later, I'll hold on to it, knowing that it's most likely got a chance to kind of run up a little bit later, just because you've seen the cycles go through, and those are like less, those are gambles essentially. Well, everything's a gamble, but those are gambles because you're kind of running into it going, I think in 2 months time the cute PFP meta will come around, so I'm going to hold on to this because I know that the supply is going to work out and it should run up like previous projects have. But then the only other thing that I'm kind of holding long term, not selling, are my just straight utility ones and passes. So some of the guys that I kind of sort of my friends, they've got sort of alpha passes, but then you also got like app like Ninjalerts. Those are the kind of things that I'll hold longer term because I'm using them daily. I'm getting value out of them, and then also there's a relationship sort of factor to it.
Mm. So since you've been in the space, out of all the different trends, the cute PFP trends, the women PFP trends, there's quite a few different ones. I'm not remember off the top. Obviously, the ape trend that started it, the punk trends. Which one has been your favorite? Like, which one do you think will always come back around when the cycle returns?
I think the cute PFP meta will always come back around. So the sort of like the thick lined, just real kind of cartoonish, childish, well, childish, it sounds like a bad term, but that kind of PFP meta, because I
Childish.
feel like what happens is people will kind of see something. It's like, it's easy enough to kind of see like a really small sort of PFP and like you can kind of resonate with and it can hit with. So I think that always comes back around. Like people kind of move off onto a different trend, and I feel like it always comes back around at some point when a new wave of people come in, and then all it takes is someone to kind of do something really bit cool with the art style or something, and then that'll just like kick off another round of it.
Mm. Do you have any metaverse plays? Are you big on the metaverse in any way?
I don't have any metaverse plays currently. I kind of had a few passes for things, but like it's something I want to do a little bit more of. But I want to be so deep and so researched in it before I make those moves. Because if I'm not researched and I'm just going to be like gambling like I was before. And I think where it comes down to it is I need to then mix with some people and learn from some people that are doing really good plays and know how to do it really well. So then I'm actually going to kind of execute quite well because and coming back to sort of when you have things like alpha groups, but also an app like Ninjalerts that you're learning. If you're kind of seeing what other people are doing constantly, you're then going to be learning by osmosis, which then means that you're then going to actually kind of make better trades and better decisions. Because when everyone starts in the game, they end up losing money because they're doing what they think is the right thing to do while not learning from someone that actually knows what they're doing. So I haven't got any plays. It's something I'd like to kind of do, but at the moment, I know I know the game that I'm playing and I know how to play it decently well. So the idea is like I don't kind of want to change what's not broken.
That's true, but I would have to advocate for metaverse. That I know there's a lot of them, but whichever one wins, that real estate would be more expensive than real life real estate because again, this is Web3. So if the whichever one turns into the Facebook of metaverse, I know Facebook has metaverse, but whichever one wins the whole race towards, a lot of them are gonna die. But whichever one wins, it will be very, very, very pricey to get one. Just any small plot. So that's why I would advocate that any metaverse play should be in everybody's portfolio. That's what I personally think. Also, you do have to do some research because some have been building for years, like the Sandbox, Decentraland, and so a few others. But then there's some new ones that are valued a lot higher than those OG ones, like NFT Worlds, and that might be also connected to Minecraft. So you got to do a lot of due diligence before you pick. But I just wanted to take a moment to advocate that metaverse land is gonna be the future, and if you have a plot now, I'm saying like maybe 5 to 10 years from now, then you're gonna be able to buy real land for a lot less than the metaverse land. So that's why I just had to stop there to do a little bit of advocating. So,
Get some metaverse
but
plug. Hey Nate, would you want to look into the Ninja Alerts trends with us and just kind of see? I would like to pick
Yeah,
your brain
cool.
at like if you were looking
Yeah,
at
go for
this,
it.
what you would pick, and then we'll look at it from there.
Yeah,
Let
sweet.
me
Bring it
yeah,
up.
go ahead and pop this up real quick.
but also, are you familiar with Gutter Cat Gang and the different gutter species and the latest gutter
Yes,
drop that just dropped?
I'm not super. I'm not like I know of it and I know kind of a little bit of the ecosystem, but to say I'm kind of an expert or even kind of a bit more than kind of just like a headline reader is wrong. But it's like I know what it's kind of. Yeah, I know a little bit about it.
Mm. Yeah, I'm very, very bullish on Gutter Cat Gang. Obviously, my name is Gutter.eth, and I minted some Gutter Cats, and I've been bullish. I've done videos about them for a very long time. They did just drop Gutter Juices, which I'm kind of happy about, and I just wanted to bring it to your attention because it's right there, top on the trends. A lot of people are buying and selling them. They had a 12,000 airdrop in Ethereum level L1 to the people that own the gutter cat species and the gutter cats. So that's 12,000 airdrop through
Mm,
ETH. So that's a very
that'd be
expensive.
expensive. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So, but
nuts.
they also had a public sale for 16,000 of them. What these gutter juices are basically gonna be you're gonna be able to burn them in a few weeks and put them in a what they call in a clone machine, and have a Android version of whether it's a dog, a cat, or a rat, or a pigeon. But you could mix them with the existing species to keep the trait. Like what if you like a cat specific trait, you could mix it with the juice and have a android that has that trait. Or you don't really need to mix them at all. You could just have it and it'll give you a randomized trait. So that's why I'm bullish on this because this just came out. They were very tight lipped about it, so it was a stealth drop. There was no whitelisting. It actually had a Dutch auction from point 0.9 all the way to point 0.1. When it hit point 0.1, it sold out instantly. It's a very good entry into the blue chip. Currently, it's I'm not sure what it is. It's sitting around at 0.13, and Gutter Cat Gang is a blue chip. They're well known now. They've been doing this for a little while. They're OGs, and to pay point one something to get in, I think it's a no brainer play. But of course, it's gonna take a little while for the floors to rise as the distribution goes up. The number of unique ownership goes up. It's me, not financial advice. I would think this is it's a good play, especially since I've been spending more than that on crap that has been losing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
been spending,
exactly.
I spent point 0.2, point 0.4 ETH on something that dropped to like 0.04 now. Like, what am I?
What was that? The Bears?
Don't bring it up,
Oh,
Chris. Chris, don't do this. It was a few of them. It was a few of them. The
Yeah.
weather report dropped.
oh yeah, weather report.
Everything I played last week on this show, they all dropped like 70%. The gutter cats for me because I'm bullish. I'm long term. I haven't sold any cats. Haven't sold any of my species. I'm very long term on gutter, so I think it's a very good play. So if you weren't familiar with the juices, I had to bring them up.
So Nate, if you were looking at this, which one kind of catches your eye that you would want to dig
Well,
into?
so the thing is, it's like I actually with the I actually picked up, and it's a dumb play, but I picked up a super ordinary villains yesterday because I saw people minting again and again, which was not the exploit, but the bad contract. So I decided to just mint one anyway. So there was yeah, like literally, because it's like I saw one person mint one. I'm like, okay, cool. They're obviously like sort of whitelisted. Then I see them again. Then it just goes alert, alert, alert. I'm like, oh, bro, it's happening again. Literally, laptop open, get one. And I'm like, I didn't even like that's just it. So it's like as that kind of news was kicking about, it's just like I'd already gotten one, but then like the floor price had kind of dropped below the secondaries because people were able to just kind of like run up the mints. So I actually picked one up. I don't know why. It was one of those things where it's like I'm kind of craving that, like, because it feels like the past couple of weeks there haven't been any proper degen plays. I'm like, when I saw that, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. So I did that. It's most likely a really dumb move.
Yeah, so no
But yeah,
website
exactly.
whatsoever. The website is only mint.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, you hit mint, then it's like it pops up with like the MetaMask dialog box, and then that was it. I was expecting like just more. I clicked mint, and I'm like, what? I hit approve, and I'm like, wait, did you do that? And like I clicked mint again. I actually minted two without even
On
knowing. It was just
accident. Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Oh, wow.
Dang.
So
So, but
yeah.
just a pause. You do have a cold wallet, right? For all these DJing plays,
No, because the
you
thing
say
is,
you move around a lot.
I'm kind of I am very fast in it, like fast in and out. So like that's the thing. Like with this play, I will most likely hold it once there's so it has kind of sold out. Like I will most likely after we jump off this, I'd most likely list them now. So like that's the thing. Like I don't want to hold like as bearish as it sounds on NFTs. I kind of go in and out because I want to stack some ETH and then I get the ETH off like off the hot wallet. So like my hot wallet, I don't have much in it because I kind of load it up when I want to
Oh,
make
I
some
see.
purchases and
Okay.
then straight off, because the idea like with some NFTs I will hold some kind of longer term, but the idea is like I'm not keeping a mad bag in there, if that kind of makes sense.
Yes, but you do have a secure place that
Yeah, I've got
you
all
can.
my
Oh, okay.
all the
Oh,
backups. Yeah.
good. Good. Because a lot of super DJing plays are very,
Oh yeah,
sus.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
got multiple. I've also got multiple wallets. So I've literally got a list of wallets that are kind of like, how degen is it? And you kind of go down the list of just like, okay, cool. No, this is terrible. You've got some that are just like you know the account's going to get wiped out, and then you've got others that are kind of like that midterm. So yeah, it's funny when you're talking to new people, they kind of like go, oh, so what have you got? Or they kind of have a look and you're like, no, you have multiple, you have them kind of like laid, and in your mind you're going like, wait, how dangerous is this? And then you kind of like throw it in that way, which I think it's like, it sounds bad that you need to do that, but I kind of think it's cool because it kind of makes me feel like semi-hackerish. I'm like, oh cool, what account will I use? Okay, cool, let's make this, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's really dope. Yeah, I also have that, but I tend to usually just use my cold wallet because it's, I mean, if they hack into your hot wallet, they could sign and take everything. With cold wallet, you have to physically sign it. Everything. If they want to transfer your stuff away, you have to sign for them to do it physically. So it's a little harder, but of course, it doesn't protect you from just sending scammers money. No, nothing ever will. But that's why I just always have to advocate it because I see people with bored apes losing their apes because they didn't really think they should have a wallet to protect their expensive investment, and it happens frequently, like a lot. So I'm kind of numb to it now. So I just had to bring it up. Like, hopefully you had a cold wallet that you secure all your investments with, especially if they're pricey investments. You got to secure them. But
Do you want to jump back into the app and kind of have a look what's there? So yeah, like literally, I picked that up. So like, what I'm looking at is, if I was looking at this, I'm because I've also picked up, and I like you, you're weird. I also got that as well. The I was allow list for drug receipts, but I actually missed out because it's like the mint times were off. I actually missed out on minting that, so I don't know where that
Yeah,
kind
I
of is
looked at
sitting at the
that
moment.
earlier. The project itself looked pretty cool. If I was on
So,
allow list, I
because
would
I
probably
spoke
mint
to
it.
the team, and it's like I kind of like their vibe and where they're going, but it's just like the hard part is everyone in the US thinks the only time zone is in the US. So there's always just some mental
yes.
gymnastics when it comes down to time zones. So like that's the thing. Like when we're organizing this, like, hey, do you want to do Wednesday? I'm like, okay, it's Thursday. What time is it? I'm like, I literally just I'm almost thinking about getting a watch that just set to a US time,
US time.
just so I can just because that's all I'm kind of using. So yeah, what I would do is in this section, this is more of this would be less minting. This would be more like, okay, what should I kind of consider looking at to see where the flaws are at to kind of see when I can then sort of either set some cells or layer out or that kind of thing. That's the way that I would use sort of this section because any mints that are happening, I usually want to be getting alerts from people that I know and trust that are then minting it because I'm not sure how you would do it, but I kind of know that you could have people that try to game and bot the system, like buy a whole bunch of their own to try to get to the top of like a minting list on something like Icy Tools, which then gets people to kind of FOMO into it. And it's like you
Hmm.
kind of know that if no one that you know is buying into it, and it seems like everyone else is, sure, it could be a play, but it's like, is it really a good play or not? That's how I kind of approach that situation. I'm not saying that you need to follow other people and you can't make your own decisions, but if you are going to do a degen play, I'd rather degen with other degens than just kind of like people that could be gaming the system.
So, in the Ninja Alerts, what trends do you usually look at? Do you look at the 1 hour trend, 12 hour trend, 6 hour trend? Like, how do you get to the all the allow list? How do you get up on the new projects that are about to launch before you contact the team and try to go through that venue?
So I guess the good position that I'm in at the moment as like an influencer, and I hate the term, is the fact that I've got a network of people, but then also people that are in my Discord, people that kind of see stuff, and they're almost coming to me going, "Hey, I found this project. Here's why I think it's good." So I'm almost without even like asking for it, I'm getting sort of vetted information to me, which means that I can then kind of process it and look for it. So when it comes down to like a mint that is happening in so like 2 weeks time, something like Ninjalerts won't be helping me out on it. It'll be other people that are kind of seeing things, finding things, tagging me in, sharing things, and then going, hey, you should check this out. Then it's worth me kind of actually jumping in and doing a dive. Ninjalerts for me and like how I use this is real basic, like what is the it's almost like a stream of consciousness of what the market's doing currently. If there's lots of buying and selling, you go, okay, cool, the market's good, the market's hot, things are working. If the app doesn't ping for half a day or a day, it's like you know that it's that there's nothing happening. You know that it's dead, which is almost like it's not a very kind of A, B, C, D structured approach. It's just more of a vibe that you can kind of get by seeing what people are kind of like. If everyone's selling stuff, then you know that people are layering up, de-risking. That's what they're doing. They're getting out of it. And the idea is like, if you see someone that's selling their doodles or selling their cool cats, or no one will sell their gutter cat gang, don't worry about that. But the idea is if they're
Nah,
selling
never
those
that.
things, then you can tell that they're kind of seeing that there's going to be a run down. And if you see one person doing it, okay, cool. But you see 3 or 4 people doing it, you're going, okay, maybe everyone's making these moves. Maybe I will start to de-risk some of those plays that I have. But then if you see a lot of people buying something, you're going, okay, the market's heating up, especially in that kind of section. Maybe it'll do well. And that's where I think meta plays can kind of come into it, because if you see something like a World of Women kind of do something, then another woman project, then you're going, okay, there's been 2 women projects that have done well, then see a third, you're going, okay, cool, that's the new meta. And it's backed up by data, not just a vibe or a feeling, because you can see that people are kind of sort of minting and buying into those. So that's how I kind of use it. I use it as a way to kind of understand what the trends are happening, but not in a very kind of analytical way. It's a very kind of, well, it kind of is an analytical way, but it's not like there's a spreadsheet that says this is what the meta is, here's what the chart is. It's just by being across it. And the reason that I love it is the fact that it's like it's on my phone. I've like literally got, so like Pranksy sold was it,
I got that earlier too.
you know what I mean? It's just like this is literally like when I wake up, the first thing I do when I kind of like notifications on the phone, I'm like, cool, what's happening on Twitter and that. But then you just have Ninjalerts, click that and just have a look and see what people have done. And the whole idea is you don't need to be at the computer. I can literally be like cooking dinner. I can be out somewhere doing something, and you can see what's happening in the market, and it keeps you up to date with it by just having this real quick snapshot. And that's what I think people like. I hate being tied to a computer. I like to be out doing something. I literally want to be like laying sort of like, I want to be outside, like sitting outside. I kind of want to be doing something. And if I can still be plugged in and understand how everything's working without having to kind of unlock my phone, put in the password, kind of go through to an app like a Discord server to kind of see something. I just want to be able
Yeah.
to kind of get that information. And I think reducing that friction is how you can kind of become a better trader, because that's where that sort of mindset abundance comes from. Because if you're seeing all of these people that are good in space and you see that what moves they're making, you then realize that, hey, you don't need to get onto that one particular project. That is not going to be like, it could be a life-changing project, but there's most likely going to be another one and another one and another one. And at that point, your mind's free. You're not thinking, oh, what trade have I got? What do I got to do? I need to kind of make something. I need to do something. You can literally sit back and kind of like, cool, there's going to be things that are happening. And when the market runs, you're going to be notified. You're not going to miss out on it. You're not going to be not in that one particular Discord that said that one thing about, hey, this person's sweeping the floor or buying this thing. You're there. You can understand it. You can see it. So that's how I like to use it, and that's how I kind of get across. Because literally, some of my sell indications are when I'm in a project and you see someone, you just see like a big floor sweep, and you're like, okay, cool, now it's time to kind of start listing those things that you wanted to kind of get those flips on. So it's those kinds of things. And there's also a nice indication of when you want to, if you've been thinking about moving into a project, you see someone sort of sweep, you're going, okay, cool, this might be an in out. So you get in, because usually what happens is someone will sweep, then people will kind of like go, hey, here's the person that's sweeping this thing. Then or they might tweet about it, which then means you've got that pump, so you can literally buy in, get it, and then list it, so you can then ride that kind of arbitrage that you know will kind of happen.
Sweet, I love it. I don't even have to run the script today because you just did an amazing pitch for Ninjalerts. We need to clip that and make it like a short for the Ninjalerts page or something. You heard it here from NFT Nate. I promise we're not sliding him any ETH under this interview.
Yeah, that's a very good take on it. I really like that. I haven't heard that before. I know when we talked to Pio, his strategy, especially when it comes to DGen plays and new derivatives, are pretty much DGen plays. So he basically says the first 2, just like you said, World of Women and different women derivatives coming out. The first one is usually going to be succeed. The first derivative of it is usually going to succeed. Then the second one might. Then the more derivatives come out, the less likely you're going to ever make anything. I mean, a lot of it's going to end up in your hidden folder on OpenSea. We already know how that goes. Like the Kevin's is what was last week's big topic, and now I don't. Kevin's kind of dead now, right? I haven't checked the floor, but you know, Kevin's kind of dead. But the first Kevin Punks, is still was the first to market as a derivative. So that was gonna be a jeez, that's low. That's low. It was almost at 3 Ethereum. That's pretty low. Oh my god. So as you can see, this is what's gonna happen. The space has spoken. This Kevin Meta is kind of done. That's rough. We saw this trending on Ninjalerts as well. So, because obviously we do a show where we just see what's going on Ninjalerts, and we saw a whole bunch of Kevin plays last week, and it's not good now. It's not good now. Do you ever jump into meme projects?
I do. Like the Kevin one, it was happening, but I'm like, I knew how bearish the market was, and I'm like, I didn't like look, there was going to always be upside, but I didn't know how much upside there was going to be. If we were in sort of bull mode and there was lots of sort of positivity in the market, hell yeah, I would have jumped in. But because I knew the sentiment of the market, I'm like, you know what? This is worth sitting out because, like I said again, it's like I know that there's going to be another meme, there's going to be another trend, there's going to be another thing that kind of runs up. So it's fine, but it's like, look, I'm just going to sit out this because I was seeing them, but I made that conscious decision going like, look, with the market being iffy, I'm not sure how long this will be. So I saw the alert, but I kind of sat it out.
Mm. Have you ever passed on a project that turned into life changing money?
I wouldn't say life like I wouldn't say life changing money
Or
because
just very, very like unexpectedly high?
I'm trying to think if there is. It's like I try not to dwell on anything that I have kind of minted and sold early. I guess the biggest regret that I had, and this is just coming down, is like mutants were like just under 4x, so like 3.8, 3.9, around that. And in my mind, I'm like, I will buy a mutant when ETH hits $5,000. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm like, if I set that rule, then I will never be angry that I FOMOed into it because I'm like, I literally set that rule. ETH never did, and I'm like, look what happened to mutants. And I'm like, I literally like sat there, I was looking at it each day, going like, this is the play, this is what I'm going to do. If I set these rules in place, then I'm not going to then buy into it without kind of having these rules and structures in place. Now I know it sounds like it's dumb to have an arbitrary number that ETH gets to, but ETH was like almost there. I'm like, look, when ETH gets to that, here's what I'll do. Never did, so I didn't kind of kick the trade over. And now I'm like, okay, cool. You know, maybe I just should have done it, but I'm not going to kick myself because I know that that's how that's the game. I set those rules and I was playing by those rules, but the game didn't want to play by the rules that I'd set.
So, have you ever seen a correlation between ETH up, NFTs down, and vice versa, or do
Yes,
you think it's just random?
I have, but I also think that this last period that we've had, the last, I don't want to kind of say anything because I'm not sure where, like, what permissions and things, because I know, like, with YouTube, you're going to be very careful about what words you say. But the
Hmm.
idea that when the events that happened like a couple weeks ago, that's when it kind of got weird because crypto went down, but then also NFTs went down. And usually it's like the way I like to think about it is like it's in fiat value because if someone's new coming into the market, they're willing to spend $500 on something. It doesn't matter what the sort of ETH value is for those newcomers coming in. They're willing to spend $500. If you go into McDonald's to buy a cheeseburger for $1, you're not going to come in a week later and spend $2 on that cheeseburger. You're like, I'm going to spend that dollar on that cheeseburger. I'm like, that's what I'm going to spend. I'm willing to spend $1 for this thing. So I like to think about it as in fiat value. So with ETH going up, the sort of like ETH value of NFTs will go down, but the fiat value will stay kind of the same. Now it's no, I know it's not always the case, but that's kind of what I find
Yes.
for those newer plays, those DGen plays, what people are willing to do. Then, obviously, what I'm seeing is that you then have the blue chips, which when everything goes down, they'll stay flat. And then when everything goes up, they go up. when everything goes down, they might retrace a little bit and they just go up. So they're kind of like stepping up a little bit, whereas everything else is kind of really up and down. That's how I kind of see that.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Excuse me, I could see that. Yeah, that makes perfect sense because obviously, if the price of value of ETH when it goes down, that means NFT the prices are kind of it went down too comparing to the fiat value. That is so. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And I was also Chris kind of hates this, but cash grabs. What are your thoughts on celebrities coming through with, a high mint price cash grab, like maybe 20.25 ETH for something just because of what they did in Web 2 or what they did in the past? It might not even be actual celebrities, but how do you feel about that? Do you ever play into that or do you,
No,
do you just
I
skip
don't
those?
I don't like celebrity plays. I only like celebrity plays if it can be a degen play that you can see within a celebrity move. But overall, I don't want to play it because if you're trying to mint something at like 1 or 2 ETH because they set a stupid high price, like what is the upside going to be? I would rather spend 2 ETH on doing sort of 0.05 mints and just hoping you get one that
Yeah.
moons than tying up all that liquidity that could be used elsewhere because you literally just wanted to try to like get the Paris Hilton frog NFT. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
I just hate them. They come in because they extract liquidity. I'm not saying that projects don't, but if a project has people that are like really tight in the space, they're paying, they're like everyone's getting paid and it's all kind of circulating back in the system. And when it's circulating back into the system, it's good. When it gets like ripped out, it's very hard because if I was to do well, like if a project's doing something and they're paying the artist and the artist isn't like in their NFTs, what's that artist going to do with the payout that they get? They're going to then buy more NFTs. If you're hiring an artist or someone that's not in the NFT space, they're going to take the ETH out, convert it to fiat, and then go buy like regular human stuff. Whereas like sort of
Yeah.
people that are in the space will keep buying and circulating into the space. And then which just kind of feeds into the system, which I like that. That's what I kind of like. And that's when like it also comes back to a team. If a team actually kind of is doing everything like insular, then that's great because it's just going to keep circulating and propping up the system. Because there's nothing worse, like we saw with Pixelmon, where liquidity is just ripped out because you're going 70 million.
Mm,
That's 70
yeah.
projects that could have had 1 million, and you're going like there's someone out there, there's a team out there that could have used $1 million and done something absolutely amazing. 70 chances at 70 rolls of the dice, but it's gone.
That's
Yeah.
painful, man.
Yeah.
It's painful. That was.
Uh,
I don't miss Pixelmon. It feels
oh,
like
is
that
it
was
dead
like
yet?
It feels like it was months ago, and that was like what, a week or two.
Yeah, it was like last week. So, real quick, could we have you just evaluate a random project you're not currently in? Like,
We
we
do
just want to see how.
we do only have 2 minutes left, so I don't know if we want to
Oh,
go ahead and
okay.
wrap up or.
Okay. I was just gonna say, just choose any web, go to project, go to the website, and just see, like,
Sure,
briefly
yeah,
scan and see if you would actually buy it. Could-
yeah. Is there a certain
which
one
one?
that you guys want to click?
Maybe Quantum Key. Are you into Quantum Key? Oh, I don't see. Yeah, there is
No,
a
I'm not.
website. Okay, cool.
Huh?
All right.
What the heck?
What is this?
Yeah.
Unlock the full quantum key. What is this?
It looks like is it a pass for upcoming? Because it's also hard because like the screen's also kind of cut off a little bit because it's like a
Here,
centered crop thing.
We could change the screen real quick.
can you change it from on your end, Gutter? Or
Yeah.
there it goes.
What's weird is that this doesn't feel like an NFT website. It feels like
I
a
know. I feel like they just attached you
Yeah.
to a regular website.
It's a lot of artists. Oh, so is it a key to different
I
artists'
think it might
artworks?
be. That's what it looks like. It might be. What's the so it's 1/8? No, I just if it's 1/8 60. No,
Oh, it's
that's a no for
one.
me.
Oh yeah,
So 60
yeah.
items 1/8 for like that. Nah, no thanks.
Wow, 2.4 floor. I
I
wonder
think
if
that'd work
Well,
well. Like look, I'm not a big baller that has 100 ETH to play around with. So it's an easy pass for me just
Yeah,
because of that.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Like
So
you said, this
there we
doesn't
have
feel
it.
like NFT project at all. I feel like I
No,
just clicked a random website.
it feels like a Squarespace website that they've kind of
Yeah.
plugged into.
Yeah. So it's not the normal PFP landing page that we usually get. But so you would pass on this project just
I'd
because of
pass
the
on
high
this. Yep.
mint price. Okay, so there we have it. That's a quick review, quick
Yeah.
evaluation.
If there's
All
something
right,
else,
so
like literally go back into the app, just scroll down, pick something random, go for it. Why not?
Let me go back.
okay.
You want me to pick something random, or do you wanna look
Yeah,
at
you
something
just pick something
specific?
random, like
Let's do
scroll all the way down. Like
Was, yeah,
Hmm.
this. Have you scroll down a little bit more? Are you into cyber brokers? I think we
no,
spoke about that last time on the show.
I saw alerts for it, but no, I'm not in it.
Oh, this is the old one.
Oh,
Click the collection moved here. It's on the Wow. Yeah, that's much higher than it was last time we looked, right?
yeah. I don't quite remember this one. But it looked like it was at 1.2 on March 3rd. I don't remember when we looked at it, so it's definitely moved a lot. They do have a website as well.
Cyber brokers. So when you get into a website, you initially scan for the facts, or do you scan for the team? Then you go back to
First thing I
roadmap,
do
or
is supply and mint price because that instantly can kind of give you vibes. Is it cash grabby? What are they kind of doing? Like that's the first thing I do. Um, so
So it's
0.35.
0.35 per cyber broker. It doesn't have a
Go to the
total.
FAQ because it should say it on the
Oh yeah,
FAQ
it'd
what
probably
the
say there.
supply will be.
Will it be public win raffle?
10K,
Wait, 10K. See,
0.35.
like I'd see 10K 0.3 and just be like, no, that's me, that's out. Mainly because I'm just I'm like, look, you guys are from that time where 0.09 from mint or 0.1 from mint was like, oh, this is a bit pricey because everything was 0.05. Like
Yeah.
that's just what it was. So
Yes.
even if it just doesn't feel right for a 0.3. I may then so at that point I would dip out. And if other people are like, no, you should seriously consider it, then I would actually kind of go in and have a look at the team, see what they're doing. But just from like a supply and pricing standpoint, that always like look, hindsight's 2020. You can go, oh, you would have made a great almost like
Yeah.
an 8x, but you're going like, do I really, like I said, do I want to tie up sort of point well, if you really want to buy it, make a trade and then also do it, you're going to have to be spending sort of 0.7. So you're going to have to dump at least an ETH into it to get 3, to then ride, like sort of flip 1 to kind of de-risk, then maybe 2 to be in profit and then hold 1 longer term. And you're going, do you really want to be holding up 1 point something ETH when that could have been deployed in something else? And then you're like, kind of like you're saying, Gutter, imagine you going, you've got 1 ETH that you could spend to kind of properly get into this project, or you could go with an existing project, existing blue chip that's actually done something and executed before. So that's where I kind of weigh it up. You're going, what can you actually do with that liquidity, and what else is out there?
So you're a true degen then.
Yeah,
That's kind of how it goes. Do you ever
yeah.
get into free mints? Because
Oh,
during
love
the bear
free mints.
market,
Yeah, like I love a good free mint. It's like I've literally just like they got a hidden folder full of so many just free mint derivatives, and it's just like,
yeah.
yes, please. It's like, but the thing is, what I actually do because I'm in a decent position to kind of like what I do is like sometimes there'll be a new kid that'll come in the Discord. Is like, oh, I don't have any NFTs yet. Oh, I want to kind of do something. So what I'll do is all of those free mints, I'll be like, cool, you know what? I'll give you a free NFT. It's worth nothing, but what's happened? Legit, what's happened? I bought a project. There was like 24 buys of the project. I had like mint number 27. Like literally, it didn't sell out, didn't do anything. Minted. I'm like, this is dead. They ended up kind of shutting down. I'm like, okay, it's a rug. They then ended up kind of like reminting it again and gave people back. So they gave people double. Didn't mint out, didn't do anything. I then gave some NFTs away. Then what happens? Woke up in the morning, Ninjalerts saying, hey, this thing's been pumping. I'm like, I think I own that. I ended up giving out sort of half an ETH worth of profits to some
Oh,
people on
Wow.
projects that a project that didn't mint out, and I just gave them these things. And then it's like I told them, hey, you should maybe take some profits, because like I literally gave you something for free. You've turned
Mhm.
it like into sort of a 0.2, 0.25 ETH flip. And like, no, we're gonna hold on. I then checked it sort of last night, the night before. It's up at 0.8. So these guys legitimately,
wow.
I gave them a mint that I thought was terrible. That was a degen play. It wasn't a free mint. It was like a sort of 0.05. It was something stupid low. I'm like, that's a degen play.
Yeah.
Gave it
Yeah.
out, and then I'm just like, yeah, that's the world just punishing me.
Well, hey, look, if you find any other cheap stuff, you know, you can send it Mine Gutter's way. We'll hold on to it for you.
Send it to gutter.eth, man.
Yeah.
Send it to the gutter. Well,
Awesome, Nate.
so
It was great having you, man.
Thanks for
But
having me on.
I need to go for sure, so I'll need to wrap it up. But yeah, I mean, Nate pretty much said everything that needed to be said about Ninja Alerts. It's a trading app that gives you smart notifications to your phone or desktop when traders are making trades. And as you saw, we looked at some trends on the trending page today. So thank you guys for checking out. Nate, thank you for being here.
Thanks
Is
for
there
having
thank
me.
anything
you,
else you want
Nate.
to say before you head out, Nate?
No, I'm all good. Like it's 7 a.m. I think I might head back and have a bit of a nap and a bit of a sleep.
I understand, man. Thank you for waking up and joining. Got anything else?
And that's about all. Thank you guys for stopping by. We'll be back on Friday with another special guest, of course. We're going to continue on to do this. And we also have special guests lined up next week as well. So it's going to be a weekly, every other day during the week. So we'll be back again for another one.
Sweet. All
So
right, guys. Everybody watching, thank you so much, and we'll catch you guys Friday.